Recording in progress.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the December 10th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I just will note that Commissioner Dieter is attending a school for newly elected officials, so he is not here today as he moves over to being our county surveyor. First item on the agenda is approval of the accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have 4 reappointments. We received letters from the Mishawaka-Penn-Harris Public Library Board asking us to reappoint Sarah Holmes to a full term. She's somebody that we appointed last year. I will open the floor for nominations.
Nominate Sarah Holmes for the Mishawaka-Penn-Harris Public Library reappointment.
I'll second that. There being no further nominations, we will close that and accept a motion to reappoint Sarah Holmes to the Mishawaka-Penn-Harris Public Library Board.
Motion to approve Sarah Holmes for reappointment from Mishawaka-Penn-Harris Public Library.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye.
Reappointment's approved.
Next, we have 3 reappointments to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals, the PETA-BOA Board. I'll open nomination. First is for Steve Weldy. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Would nominate Steve Weldy for reappointment to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals.
I'll second that. There being no further nominations, we'll close that and move to vote. Do we have a nominee? Do we have a motion to approve the reappointment of Steve Weldy?
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next to the PETA-BOA Board is a request that we reappoint Anthony Pericini to the board. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Would nominate Anthony Pericini for reappointment to the Property Tax Assessment Board
I'll
of
sec-
Appeals.
I'll second that. There being no further nominations, we'll close that and move to reappoint Anthony Pericini.
Motion to reappoint Anthony Pericini.
Second.
Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And finally, for the PETA-BOA Board, to reappoint Peter Mullen. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Nominate Peter Mullins for the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals.
Second. There being no other nominations, we will close the nominations and take a motion to reappoint Peter Mullen.
Make a motion to reappoint Peter Mullins to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals.
Second.
A motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That ends the commissioners section. By the way, has anybody signed up to talk about anything on the agenda?
Cheryl did.
I did.
I had to restart it. So I'm gonna ask her that she wanted to see that.
Okay. What did,
It's just under new business.
oh, under new business. I want to make it clear, you don't have to sign up to speak on new business. What we're trying to do is encourage people who wish to speak on agenda items not to have to wait till the end after we've already voted and then say, oh, what do you have to say about that? So please don't let the fact that we're asking you to sign up in any way discourage you from speaking up during the public comment session. Thank you. Just a little clarification there. Next, we're going to move on to IPG, approval of the contract with Dinsmore and Scholl LPP for bond counsel services regarding the Alexander Road County Highway project. This is, Mr. Metters, do you wish to say something? This is just a,
I gotta come up here anyway now.
okay. Well, I don't want to be too informal, but this is really just a technical.
Exactly. The commissioner has already approved a prior engagement. Bond counsel has switched firms, so this is just renewing that engagement with the new firm.
Tony, any questions or comments? I don't either. I'll make a motion, we approve the contract with Dinsmore and Shoal LLP for bond counsel services.
Second.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye,
Motion carries.
thank you. Now, moving on to the approval of the Larison Road Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Change Orders number 2, 3, and 4.
Good morning, Sky Metters. Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth office is on the 7th and 11th floor. As noted, this is a request for approval for change orders 2, 3, and 4. When it's all said and done, change order number 2 represents an increase of $185,508. Change order number 3 accounts for a deduction of $62,365. And change order number 4 represents a decrease of $104,582.50. And when it's all said and done, the overall total of the 3 change orders represents an increase in the contract of $18,560.50. And what these are for is there was some items that were modified. There was some manholes that were able to be taken out of the contract, and there was some, let's see, there's also requested an additional 90 days be added to the contract for construction, and based on, that is justified based on, the correspondence and what we know about the contract. So it's a lot of different things that end up adding up to an increase of $18,560.50, which is about a 0.2% increase. We've reviewed this and recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, certainly the change order increase is well within what is typical with, that below,
Yes, sir.
what is typical on these projects,
Yes, sir.
especially when you're dealing with the unknown so often.
Mhm. It's a lot lower than the previous one, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Opinion, do we feel good about where we're at as far as any further change orders? I know you can't guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, I'm positive there will be some more change orders, but, I mean, as far as in the realm of what change order number 1 was, which was over $1 million, which that was adding some things that weren't in there originally. I think we're getting to the point where we're in good shape for that, so. I mean, there's always, change orders are gonna cover things you don't know about, so there's always that chance.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve the Larison Road Lift Station Replacement Change Orders number 2, 3, and 4? I'll second.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is the approval of the consent agenda. We really don't usually comment on these, but I think maybe we should on this one, because it is for public safety. We're adding no truck signs on several roads.
Yes, what we have going on, let me see, I printed this one out because I knew it was a lot. We had a gentleman come in, talk to Commissioner Hazen, and I got into that conversation, and there's been a lot of increase in truck traffic on a lot of the county roads out in the area surrounding the landfill. Those trucks are supposed to stay on state routes, and we're finding that more and more that they're not. So we did I had Matt Longfellow in our office take a look at, what roads currently had ordinances, what roads did not have ordinances. Also to go through and make sure the signage was there on the roads that did have ordinances. And we came up with a few roads that we thought should be included to really try and, from a regulatory standpoint, make sure that the ordinances are in place so the county police can enforce those items. So we're putting a lot of no truck ordinances out in that area to try and limit that violation, and because really, it really tears up our roads quite a bit when they should be using state routes. So the plan is to get these ordinances in place, get the signage up, and send these ordinances to the county police so that they can be enforced.
Glad
I
that,
would just add that Sky's talked to the county police and told, the signs are no good without enforcement. So
Mhm.
he's talked to them and explained that to them, and they said they'll help us as much as they can,
Right.
so I appreciate that.
And in another area, there's a couple signs going on over in the area near New Carlisle. There's been some complaints over there on roads that should be no truck, and going through and looking, there's never been an ordinance applied to those, so we're putting an ordinance out there so that those can be enforced also. We've got the area around the IEC pretty much, covered with no trucks, and so, it's enforcement at this point.
I'm glad we're doing this. There being no further comments, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Backmeyer?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sky.
Thank you.
Moving on to our Health Department, approval of the employment contract renewal with Peter Duffy for CDC-funded program services.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mike Rubel, with the Director of Operations for the Department of Health. I am here to request your approval to extend the contract for Peter Duffy, our contracted data analyst, for 2025. Peter writes and maintains our REDCap system. The REDCap system is our database that we use to document the work of our department. It maintains all of our data sources. Peter writes the code, maintains the code, ensures that we have proper interfaces with the necessary systems throughout where we interact with the state. The REDCap program allows us to track our work and to show our data so that we can show our impact to the community. And the work that Peter does is predominantly in the care program, but he does work throughout the entire Department of Health. Recent work has included some programming and tracking for the environmental health area, or unit rather, and he is currently working on developing some nursing program as well, so that we can do some additional tracking that we would like to maintain that we're not currently able to do through the state NBS database. The funding for this is currently through the CDC. That will end in 2025 and will switch to the Health First Indiana Fund for the remainder of 2025. And I am happy to take questions you may have.
Before we go to the questions, Phil, this is something that we tabled. So
Correct.
first of all, we need a motion to take it off the table.
Make a motion to take it off the table for the Peter Duffy extension of the contract.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Backmeyer?
Aye.
It is back on the table.
Apologies, I should have done that before we asked you to start speaking. You answered one of my questions, and that is what happens when the CDC funding ends? And good to hear that the county is prepared to put that under the Health First Indiana funding. I think that's something we're going to have to watch. In talking to our, not the Peter Duffy contract, but just the whole Health First Indiana, the sense that we are getting, Tony and I went to the Indiana County Commissioners Conference last week, and generally what we heard from state legislators, including some of our own area legislators, is that they're probably not going to be the increase that was asked for but a lot of support for continuing the funding for another 2 years at the current level. Again, it's up to the state legislature, but I know there is concern about what's going to happen to Health First Indiana. Unfortunately, we don't have the final vote on that, but just reporting more of what we're hearing down at the state level regarding Health First Indiana and it continuing, which, going back to Peter, I would assume that a lot of the data that is going to be used to support Health First Indiana now, but in the future, will come from data sources such
Yes.
as this.
Yes, correct, correct.
Well, I think it's important that we continue to collect that data for internal use, but again, to make a case for improving public health going forward through the Health First Indiana. So glad to hear that. Tony, any
That's it.
questions? Do we have a motion to approve the employment contract renewal with Peter Duffy for CDC-funded program services?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen,
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on to our Purdue Extension, approval of contractual services agreement yearly renewal.
Good morning, Emily Evers, County Purdue Extension Director and Agriculture and Natural Resources Educator for Purdue Extension and the law building on the second floor. This is just the annual contract between Purdue Extension and the county, so it helps provide services of the extension educators and resources of Purdue University, including over 200 specialists located on campus and throughout the state, along with regional community development educators to work on communities with critical needs. I also want to make note that this is improved in our 2025 budget, and I do have some highlights if you want to hear them, but we also have an annual meeting that I'd love to invite you to talk more about those as well.
I appreciate in the past being invited, and I look forward to attending again in the future. Just for point of clarification, regarding mileage, was there a separate request for a mileage request, or has that been embedded in this?
It's separate, and I think it's going on a different agenda as
Okay.
far as I'm aware. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't overlook it. I was looking at this morning and
Oh, yeah.
had a question of what
But yeah,
happened.
no, let me know if you have any questions on that as well, so.
Good. Well, we appreciate the work that the Extension Service does, and happy to support this. Do we have a motion to approve the contractual service agreement, its yearly renewal?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Hazen,
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Dukem Center, approval of the CCTV system upgrade purchase proposal.
Good morning,
Good
Julie
morning,
Lawson, St. Joseph County Community Corrections, out on Lathrop Street. We were approved for $150,000 on the American Rescue Funds, and we were initially having it set for a modular unit, which was not able to be planned in the time frame allotted. So we've requested permission and were granted the authority to seek a quote for a camera system update. We've updated all the cameras so we can watch it from the offices who need to have access to it, in addition to the custody staff. It keeps them from having to go in as often, but still maintain full-time surveillance. It also includes better equipment to be able to download video for investigation or grievance purposes from the clients. And the quote came in from communication companies at $149,830, I believe it was. And we are just requesting the approval of the quote from communications company.
Well, I certainly think that improving our surveillance is important
Absolutely.
for good operation. Any questions?
No, I would agree. I think The system that's out there now has been out there since they built it.
Correct. They've done a couple little tweaks along the way, but never an overhaul needed.
Just for clarification, because I've forgotten, do you guys know when was Stukem Center actually built?
I believe it was 11 or 12.
Yeah. So 10-plus years for
Correct. Yes, sir.
IT equipment is pushing the envelope,
Absolutely.
so I'm glad we're able to do this. Do we have a motion to approve the CCTV system upgrade?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Commissioner Hazen,
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer,
Aye.
motion carries.
That ends our regular agenda. We will move on to public comments.
First, public
so.
comment
Yeah, go ahead.
is Tom Rowe.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Rowe, 26160 Lake Lane, South Bend, Indiana, 46619. I'm not sure, to begin with, whether this would fall under a county council or commissioners, okay, or whether both agencies have a common purview of the matter. But, so I thought I'd come and speak briefly tonight. I'm coming back tonight to the county council, excuse me. My wheels are always churning, okay? I'm gonna give just a very brief history. When I was growing up, I lived in a little town called Columbia City between Fort Wayne, okay, and Warsaw. And we had a lake cottage on a little place called Crooked Lake, about 280 acres. Back in the early 60s, a lot of the lake owners decided that they didn't want, and the farmer that had the land didn't want that developed, okay? And so they bonded together. And so when you have a nature conservancy, and it's approved by the state of Indiana, that goes into perpetuity as far as nature conservancies. I was just thinking one thing I wanted to share so it's on the record. I know that currently looking at options for Portage Manor. And I thought I'm going to the presentation Mr. Sass has at the library at 6 o'clock tonight to gain more knowledge. But I thought, we're looking at alternatives, okay? Can we not at least explore the possibility of something like titled Portage Manor Nature Conservancy? That's just where I'm at with it. I just thought, why not share this and have it a matter of public record to explore that possibility, okay? That's it, thank you.
I know we don't want to engage in debate, and this isn't a debate. Just for clarification, is that meeting tonight or tomorrow night?
The meeting at the public library, that's at 6 o'clock tonight, so I'm going down and listen to that, and then come back for the tail end of the county council meeting, okay? But it's at 6 o'clock, and Mr. Sass will be doing the presenting.
Well, I inadvertently have it on tomorrow night, so I'll have to. Just thank you for the clarification.
I'm gonna double check the newspapers to the date, but I think I have it written on for tonight for me.
Appreciate that. Anyone else wish to offer a public comment who's in the room?
Dan Carter.
Somebody who I didn't call back on Monday like I said I would.
You're a busy guy. Hi, my name is Dan Carter. I live on 25285 Edison Road, South Bend, Indiana, 46628. I would like to bring to your attention a safety issue in the western part of St. Joe County near the Leidick area. It involves the railroad corridors between South Bend and New Carlisle. This corridor involves 3 sets of train tracks and about 7 road crossings. There are about 80 to 90 trains per day going through this corridor. The trains include Amtrak and South Shore with max speeds of 79 miles an hour. And then you have the freight trains, which a lot of times are running slow at 5 to 10 miles an hour. To take to the point of stopping and blocking the railroad crossings, and a lot of times multiple crossings. Not just 15 minutes, but hours. In the corridor, you have new industries and businesses being developed, and with that, you are going to have more and more drivers going across these tracks to get to work. Some of the drivers will learn that the freight trains may be going so slow that the crossing will be blocked and that he's going to be late for work. Even though the gates and lights are activated, the driver tries to beat the train and decides to go around the gate, not knowing or forgetting about another train approaching the crossing, and bam, you have a crash, an accident that causes property damage, injury to a driver and or passengers, or even death. This accident also could cause a derailment, causing a catastrophic hazardous chemical spill, contaminating the surrounding lakes in this area, and also the water tables forever. This safety issue or environment issue is real. It happened in East Palestine, Ohio. It could happen here. So, how do we prevent this kind of accident from happening? Currently, these crossings have 2 quadrant gate systems. They need to be upgraded to a 4-quadrant gate system. The 4-quadrant gate system will prevent the driver from going around the gates. This train corridor is very unique to a lot of the train traffic in that a lot of the traffic flows through it to and from Chicago. I feel by upgrading these crossings, St. Joe County could be setting a new safety standard for railroad crossings in the state of Indiana, and maybe the whole nation. If you care about the safety, the environment, and the quality of life for the local people in this area, you will take action on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan?
Morning, Commissioners. Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street. First, I'd like to thank Carl Maxmeyer for coming out last Thursday night to the library for our Trails and Bike Paths presentation and involvement with the citizens of the town. After that meeting, I went down to New Prairie High School for the public meeting put on by Indiana Department of Environmental Management. Got some interesting information. They were very open with what they were able to discuss and answered pretty much any questions we had that was within their realm that covered the things they covered. But interestingly, there was a gentleman in the audience who I thought was with us. Turns out he was a representative from Amazon, younger guy, real thick Irish accent. I could not understand him very much. He talked in liters rather than gallons. But he answered one of my critical questions. How often do the Amazon plants rely on the auxiliary power, the diesel generators to run? How often are there outages of power at the Amazon facilities? And he said, almost never. He said, the reason, I could make this out, the reason for having these generators was for emergencies, but he says, rarely if ever do they run except on required check periods. They check them monthly and then have a big check for about an hour once a year. They don't run very often. At that, I decided it was more important now to say, and before they started up, rather than diesel, get rid of the diesel. Go to natural gas. If you're only going to use it to fire up the generators, they don't need to run for an extended period. And of course, diesel being right on site, is they're going to fire up right away. They're worried about a possible interruption of the natural gas service. If you're just doing it to test, who cares if the natural gas service fails if you're going to test the generators? No, test them tomorrow. I just think it's so much safer, particularly. Maybe it's good in some places. In our place, it's right over top of the Kankakee Aquifer. And right now, with the item that's up for approval, there will be 1.6 million gallons of diesel fuel sitting right on top of the aquifer. And if they when the 2 other sites, Amazon 201 and 250, will put in likely for similar permits, there's gonna be close to 5 million gallons of diesel fuel sitting on top of the Kankakee Aquifer, and that's just too risky. And they've got the tanks in, I
Thank you
understand.
for your comments. Your time's up.
Thank you, but please, natural gas.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room wish to offer a comment?
I apologize. To change, it's tomorrow night, Wednesday.
It
the
is
library
tomorrow night.
meeting. I looked at my calendar, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone online wish to offer a comment?
Yes. I
There she
would.
is. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners. I just wanted to read a few excerpts from an article in the Tribune about the visit by Secretary Buttigieg. He met with some of the 268 electrical apprentices at IBEW Local 153 at Western Avenue and Peppermint Road to learn about the unprecedented demand for electricians and other skilled trades that resulted from the surge in U.S. investments over the past few years. The White House recently issued a release indicating that since Biden took office, private sector investments in clean energy and manufacturing in the United States has surpassed $1 trillion. IBEW officials said they felt the positive jolt from the public sector investment that's catalyzed investment by companies here and across the country. Later in the article, Gamble, who's an IBEW leader, said that 2,000 union electricians are currently working on projects in St. Joseph County, and that about 900 of those had to be brought in from outside the area because of the considerable number of projects underway. As an example, Verbio, the German owner of the ethanol plant on the south side of South Bend, they've cited incentives from the Biden administration for the $230 million in investments it's making at the local plant so that it can produce natural gas as well as ethanol. Maybe that would help, Dan, if we have somebody locally producing natural gas. But one of the quotes I think is really important that Pete said at the end, "It is my hope that ideology and partisanship will not pollute the importance and the unity that we ought to have around getting big things done." He said, pointing out that there are about 66,000 projects planned or underway across the country because of the initiatives of the Biden administration. I was also thinking about in today's meeting, we have $100,000 from the American Rescue Plan, which was also from the Biden administration, which is going to help at Dukem Center. So that's what I thought I'd share with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online wish to offer a comment? Seeing none,
Mr. President,
please.
I'd like to recognize our future Commissioner, Raphael Morton.
Oh.
Kind of, welcome. Can't wait to work with you.
Looking forward to January 1st. There being no further business, do we have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
Aye,
We are recessed.
thank you.
Shit. Kind of snuck in.
Oh,
Recording
I
stopped.
want to talk to him.